Question 3 asks you to make these two plots. And what you're going to do is you're going to begin by making the one on the left-hand side, which you might want to call plot 1. Looks like this. And then you're going to start off with plot 1, and then you're going to add as a layer some additional code to add to it this line that passes through all those points. So this is going to be a scatter plot with error bars, and then you're going to add geom line to it as a layer. So to begin with, you're going to have to make this first plot. And to make this first plot, you're going to require a data frame that looks like this. And it's going to have some bins. And these bins are going to be based on displacement, and there's going to be 4 of those bins. And for each one of those 4 bins, you're going to need to calculate the average city mileage and the standard deviation for those different city mileages for those bins. And now what you're going to do then is put the bin value on the x-axis and the average city mileage on the y-axis, and then the standard deviation is going to give you the error bars. Now, a few things to note. Ultimately, at the end, you're going to change the labels here and the labels here, so they're not going to be bin and city average. More importantly, perhaps, what goes on the x-axis isn't exactly going to be these values here. Rather, what you're going to do is you're going to take these values and convert them into something that's equivalent, but a lot more pretty. And that's what's actually going to go on the x-axis. So how do you go about making this data frame that's ultimately going to lead to this plot? Well, there's a whole bunch of steps involved. And the first thing you're going to have to do is to create this new variable bin, and you're going to create the new variable bin by using the mutate statement, because mutate is what you use when you create something. So you're going to use mutate. And again, just to use some pseudocode, you're going to use mutate to create this thing called bin. And anytime you got bin, what do you require? Well, you need to know the variable upon which it's based, which is displacement. You need to know how many bins you want, which is 4. And you need to know the type of bin, which in this case is bins with roughly equal number of observations, which means that you're going to use the cut number function. Again, this is pseudocode, not exactly what you'd enter into the computer. So think of what you would have after you've used mutate to create that new variable bin. Well, what always happens when you use mutate to create, you get all the original variables, all the original records, but whatever new variable you created through the mutate function. So your data frame is going to have all 234 records, and it's going to have the 11 initial variables in MPG, but now it's going to have this new variable called bin. Different values of bin that correspond to these different bins. In order to go from here to here, what you're going to do, and again, this is just pseudocode, you're going to group by. What are you going to group by? You're going to group by bin. And then you're going to continue on with the summarize function to create these 2 new variables, city average and city standard deviation. So you're making good progress, and really all it remains to be done is somehow you've got to get these ugly values here turned into something pretty like that. How do you do that? Well, you've got available to you a lookup table. So there's the lookup table. There's your lookup table. And there is the summary data frame. You combine these with full join and think what you're going to get. You're going to get bin, city average, city standard deviation, and then from here, you're going to get new bin. So now that you've got this data frame in hand, you can actually make this left-hand plot that I have tentatively named it plot 1. So then once you've got plot 1, all you need to do is add to it geom line to produce the second plot. So you add geom line as a layer. Now, to answer this particular question correctly, there's a whole bunch of details that are provided in the assignment notes, but those I think are pretty straightforward. I just wanted to do this really quick video to give you an overview of how you're going to have to manipulate the data in order to make those plots.